Nobody's going to applaud your business just because it made you feel good. I wanted to create a space where you build the founder, not just the business. 25% of founders that start the business end up staying in the business. The other 75% leave because there's a skill gap. There are two different types of people. There are the people that end up building their business and it outgrows them, or they just hit that certain cap where their skill set doesn't allow it to grow any further. I work with 19 different industries. I've met with people that are in pre-seed stage, seed stage, the growth stage, exit stage, and then the main thing is that most founders think they know what their problem is, but I will say what you lack in capital right now is being used to build up your skill set first. Because if you don't have the skill set, you're going to mismanage the money anyway.
Building with us today is a gentleman I met a few years ago, and he gave me the opportunity to come on his platform and run my mouth about marketing and branding. He ain't know me from nowhere, but he said, yo, we both here in the city, we both trying to do our thing, come over and holler at me. And so now I get to return the favor, and I've got to see him grow over the last year and some change. I had my man Justin Shaw, business consultant, bespoke tailor, amongst other things. Justin, how you feeling, man?
I'm living and loving, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for taking the time to come and join us today. We're built different. This is my first time meeting Justin in person, so for everybody who was listening, Justin's pretty tall. If you're watching, I'm not that small. Justin's just pretty tall, okay? But yeah, so we're recording this now. It's the end of the year. You just launched the initial cohort. Is it a cohort?
Yep.
For IMJS. So fill us in. What is IMJS? And then tell us how it came about.
Yeah, man. So IMJS is a space for founders. And matter of fact, let me actually put it as simple as this. I wanted to create a space where you build the founder, not just the business, because so many people focus on how to develop the business itself, but 25% of founders that start the business end up staying in the business. The other 75% leave because there's a skill gap, right? Because when most people start their business, they start with a passion, they start with a product or a service that they just love, and they know how to be able to curate and develop that product, but they don't understand the full scope of business, just like how you were saying earlier. Like, they don't know marketing, sales, finance, governance, compliance, HR, accounting, team development, leadership, risk management. Like, there's so many different components to it. And so I want to be able to help bridge that gap so that way you don't get booted out your business because of stress, because of financial stress, or the capacity to be able to build with the business. Because there are two different types of people. There are the people that end up building their business and it outgrows them, or they just hit that certain cap where their skill set doesn't allow it to grow any further. And usually with anything, it's either growing or it's dying.
Okay.
And so that's what IMJS is focused on, with providing a community to be able to do that, to understand those different things, to provide capital resources for that as well too, so point them to all the different funding opportunities, and then also the consulting component. So like developing advisory councils for them, because most founders, they just go based off of what they believe is the right thing. Because I promise you, any idea that we have, we think it's great. It don't matter what it is. It's like, this is a really good idea. But positioning you in front of actual experts as an advisory council, that way that you can understand the perspective from each person. Because one person may say, this is a great idea, but have you considered it from this perspective, right? And kind of going through that whole gambit. So that way, number one, you can focus on the goals that matter the most. Number two, you have the expertise. And number three, you have the accountability for execution. And so that's really what we're cultivating here at IMJS. Of course, this is like in like seed, pre-seed-esque stage, if we put it in like tech terms, but like this is really like the launch and the beta example of it. So like with our cohort and everything. So really excited about it. That's just like one component to it as we continue to grow and scale it over the next upcoming years.
Now, I like what you said, man. You're building the founder, not just building a business. And it made me think of like Steve Jobs, right? He got put out of Apple, and he basically found the greatest company twice, depending on who you say, right? But he founded Apple twice. But founders, they never stop founding. Right, well, even when he was out of Apple, he went and started Next, and then he got into Pixar, right? And they had to go just take over all of that so they can get him back into Apple, and then he got a chance to lead. But you still need like checks and balances, like all of the things that you said. So when you came up with this idea, were you getting questions around it? Or were you saying, like you said it was a gap, but how did you identify that gap? Because most people don't know that this is what's needed?
Yeah, so it's ironic because I found it inside my house.
Okay.
So there are two, again, even though this is a different example, there are two different types of founders, right? You have the person that's a visionary, and then you have what some people either call the practitioner or the integrator. So the integrator / practitioner is the system-oriented person, meaning they understand like how to be able to put a project together, how to create systems, how to be able to track the data, how to be able to make something that's prepared to scale. Then you have the visionary. That's the person that's just like, they have the big vision. They can just bring all the people together and then just kind of take off. But they operate in chaos because there's so many different things that they haven't accounted for in those small intricacies. And so both are necessary. There's no one that's greater than the other. But in my house, I have the fortune of being like the operator, the operations person. My wife, she's a visionary. So like I see it from our personal experiences in our businesses. So like how she can win these huge contracts and then she's trying to figure out how to build out the systems behind it. That's what I'm here for.
Okay.
When I'm building what I'm building, she's more so like, Justin, this is what it could be. This is what it should look like. Like this is how you should articulate or how to be able to create like a experience that gravitates people. And so I've kind of learned it through my walk in my house, but then even into my role as a strategic growth advisor and then also director of programming and partnerships for a incubator. I've worked with 19 different industries. And so I've met with people that are in pre-seed stage, seed stage, the growth stage, exit stage. And then the main thing is that most founders think they know what their problem is, but it's usually like 4 or 5 layers deep. Because it's like, okay, cool, you think it's a cash flow issue or, hey, it's a marketing issue. But when you peel back the onion, you're like, actually, it's this. And so I've had to learn how to be able to communicate with those people because 9 times out of 10, entrepreneurs are kind of like, it's good that we're passionate, but sometimes that also prevents us from understanding what's going on the outside, right? And so because you may think it's one thing, I had to figure out how to communicate it to you so you can receive what I'm about to tell you. Because of your expertise and your framework on how you think of things, let's kind of look back and say, okay, you may think it's this, and then ask more probing questions for us to really say, based off of this conversation, it's not really this. It's actually this, which is the root of your problem. So we can solve the thing that's at the top, but really it's about 7 levels down where you're actually going to find the result that you're looking for, but are you willing to do the work in it? And so being able to learn all those different industries, those different phases of business, I've kind of started to really get a full scope of like the core principles of business, but also how to be able to communicate those issues in ways that can resonate with the person, the audience.
Yeah, that's great. Like you basically borrowed your expertise from everybody else around you, right? All the other businesses and things like that, and being able to see them at different levels, right? It's kind of like a crash course for you, right? You accelerate through learning business because you have to deliver a result for them, right? No matter what space they're in. So you gather all that experience, but what made you say, what was it like? Was it a trigger event, like a catalyst event to say, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start doing this for myself?
Yes, and ironically, this probably happened it was either 2021 or 2022.
Okay.
So my first business, custom suits, been doing that for about 8 years now. I went through my first accelerator program here in Baltimore called the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. It changed my life entirely, like entirely. It made me realize what my true like skill set was. Like when I started suits, it's because I loved and liked suits and all those other great things. But once I went through their program, I realized my ability to be able to diagnose, assess, and be able to repair problems, right? And so when I went through that program, even though I was like, our cohort size, we had about $40 million in revenue in that cohort. And I was probably like 1% of that. Because I'm like, ooh, like, right. But then as I was going through the program, and not to toot my own horn, I'm going through all these things and learning all this different stuff. I'm like, no, this makes sense. This is easy. And everybody else's brain is like, I don't understand it. I don't get it. And like, from me being able to easily diagnose and assess these different things, I was like, wow, like, I would love to be able to like help people out with stuff like this because this is like natural to me. But obviously, people that are making making $7 million don't understand these like principles either. And so, just because my revenue is one way, you also got to understand they're in a different industry. They may be selling real estate. seven $1 million homes make $7 million.
Yeah.
I could have sold 250 suits and didn't touch $7 million, right? And so there's still systems in place that be able to kind of architect that. But anyway, to get to the question, is once I went through that program, I started becoming very curious on how I could support founders. So I started hosting monthly workshops. So they were basic workshops on like the basics of like understanding like the full scope of business, like how I said marketing, finance, sales, all those different things. But then what ended up happening was I got an opportunity to speak at the international summit for the Goldman Sachs summit. And so I was able to speak on stages with like George Bush and Chris Paul and all these amazing different Bloomberg and all these people. And I'm like, oh, like, we're really doing this.
Yeah.
And when I went up there, you know, again, like people were sitting in the audience taking notes on things that I was saying. And then I'm a man of faith. When I was going through that process of like applying to see if I would actually get it, I heard God tell me, he was like, you gonna get it, don't even worry about it. So I got it. And then when I got up there, I just heard a whisper like in my spirit, like it was like, this is just the beginning. Mm-hmm. And so from there, that's when I really started to explore like, what does it look like for you to be able to create a space to develop entrepreneurs? Mm-hmm. And most people want to expect that that's gonna happen overnight. That happened in 2022. We're currently at the end of 2025.
Right.
I just got clarity.
Got it.
Like full-blown clarity. Yeah. But, you know, people have to understand, like, when you're going through this process, you have to go out blindly to be able to figure it out, because just paralysis analysis and understanding, like, okay, what is this going to look like? What is this going to be? And, like, all these different things, make all the plans in the world for it. But until you actually move your feet, that's when clarity really comes. By making those mistakes and understanding who is there, assessing who needs you, and then just taking that information and saying, how can I curate the experience towards that person to help them become better?
So tell me like 3 actions you had to take. Like you had to talk, you heard the whisper, now you gotta make a move. The first instinct for most people is like, all right, I'm gonna make a move. They either move recklessly, and I don't mean recklessly like in a dangerous, risky way, but they just start doing things, or they start like overthinking and like planning a lot, right? I know that's happened to me, and I talk to other people who has happened to. What was the first 3 things that you did? Did you fall victim of overthinking, or like how did that all work out for you?
Hey, real quick, I want to share something with you. If you want to attract more ideal clients or customers to your business without living on social media, I got something for you. It's called the Content Clarity Quiz. It takes 3 minutes, costs you absolutely nothing. Once you complete the quiz, you'll get a score that's going to help you understand how to position yourself as a go-to expert in your market without becoming a full-time content creator, because you're a business owner and you really don't have time for that. So click the first link in the description and get a better understanding of a strategy that's going to bring you more clients, not just likes and follows. Now back to the show.
So it was a perfect storm, because I was still operating my suit business like full time. So I couldn't really dedicate a whole bunch of time to doing stuff like this.
Okay.
But I wanted to plant seeds and see exactly what was going to shape the experience that I was going to create in the future. And so for me, what I did was I started hosting those. I took action. I hosted those workshops for free for like 2-3 years. So most people are like, you should be charging. I'm like, no, I'm getting paid in data. I'm learning my audience. I'm learning who I'm attracting. I'm learning their gaps. I'm learning how they think about things. I'm learning the verbiage that they're using, because down the line, this is all that information is an asset to how I can build now, right? And so me trying to figure out how to articulate that came from all that information and content that I've gathered over the years. Mm-hmm. And so that was number one. I did take action, but I did it intentionally with gathering data. Mm-hmm. And even though it wasn't in the sense of how I would have gathered data today, the information, I was still able to get testimonies. I was able to assess exactly, almost like the qualitative data from it all. Mm-hmm. Like, this was very effective, or this helped me out a lot, or okay, I'm attracting these industries. I'm attracting a lot of professional services. It made me realize in a silly way, I was like, Justin, actually with your suit business, you are in the retail space. You are in the product-based space. You are a consultant. Like, so in reality, you really are a consultant because I do not produce something until I assess the needs of the client, identify the gap, identify the problem, and then be able to tailor the solution towards them to deliver it. And so I started to realize that that was really my lane because I thought I was going to be coaching and teaching like retail businesses on how to be able to build like fashion and stuff like that. But I'm like, you actually don't know how to do that.
Right.
You know the actual process of consultation and presentation and then analysis and all those different things. And so that was step one, was to be able to just take action. Step two, I'll add, is to gather the data.
Yeah.
And then step three is to start to be able to formulate that plan, but not overcommitting to it in the very beginning.
Okay.
Because you're still trying to understand who your audience is, what they bite on, what they don't bite on, because you don't want to overcommit to something that it's like, oh, this actually isn't the gap that needs to be filled. You think of it like a science experiment. You got a hypothesis, you actually had to run the experiment itself, and then you had to do the analysis. And based off that analysis is how I determine how I'm going to make my action steps moving forward.
I like that. Research is highly underrated. Like, people don't research enough, and so that's a part of doing this podcast, right? We need to learn some of these things. So research, big deal. That was a part of the first thing, right? Gather data. You need data, and I talk about this when I have some consultations myself. I say, did you ask anybody what they think or what they want? Like, just, send them out send a survey. And I'm not saying like I wasn't being a smart aleck or anything. I just asked, like, yo, did you ask what anybody wants? You could literally just text people. Hey, I'm working on this. Send them a flyer. Like, yo, I just designed this. Do you like this? Mm-hmm. Or, we're using these digital tools now. You can just do a quick type form or whatever and send out the type form and get feedback. Like you said, a lot of entrepreneurs, we have an idea and then that idea is great to us. Mm-hmm. Right? But we got to go. It has to be great in the real world for us to actually have a business.
Yeah, right? And just to add on to that, it's like when we start again, we're almost like artists, mm-hmm. right? And so we're trying to build this masterpiece, and we get so married to the vision that we have for it, it doesn't serve the audience that we work with. Yeah. And that ends up costing us a lot more money and time and effort and energy because we built something so beautiful that only it serves us and not the people around us. And being able to experiment with the people, you don't have to come up with everything. Matter of fact, you're working too hard. Mm-hmm. There are 8 billion people out here. Instead of you trying to figure it all out, say, just like how you said, can you fill out this survey? Can you tell me what your thoughts are? Where are your gaps? What can I do to be able to help you, and how I can bring resources to be able to create that solution for you? Because you don't want to use too much brain power on something that you can just get the answer from outside sources, because you're serving the people. You're not serving yourself. It'll serve you back, but you got to serve the people first before you be able to take something for yourself.
Right. All right, so let's talk about your business model with IMJS. You took action, you gather some data and all those good things, and then you finally hit the end of the year, got your first cohort. So tell us about it. What's involved in it? What are some of the steps? Like, what's the process? What are you taking your the members of your cohort?
So I'm so excited about the cohort.
You should be, man.
Like,
you should be. Congratulations.
I want to jump up and because I truly believe it's different from what most people experience in programs. So I build programs for a living, accelerators, cohorts. I've seen incubators, all that. I've been through them. I've seen so many people go through the process. For me, I'm really focusing on the action that needs to be taken from the founder. Almost think about it, the best way to capture this is we're performance-based. Mm-hmm. I'm bringing 2 different types of people into a space that need to learn how to think like both people. Okay, so like I talked about the visionary and the integrator, I'm trying to make sure that they can compensate for the other side that they're lacking for, because that's usually the roadblock that they experience, right? And so for the IMJS mastermind, what we do is it's about 90 days, so it happens once a quarter. We only take up to 10 people because we want to curate a space where you guys can collaborate, network, be able to build partnerships, for us to dive deep into all of the different things that we're tracking and reporting, so that way we can actually produce results. And so what that looks like is let's say it's 90 minutes. The first 60 minutes, we're going through what I call projects and processes. So they have to develop 2 different projects through that quarter. And those projects are usually systems. Okay. So the project could be hey, I want to build out a brand new marketing funnel. Okay, here are the different milestones that we're going to be focused on and tracking. And so you'll have to build out that marketing funnel, and then whatever the second project is. And then the second half of that is the process. which is the KPIs that we're tracking. So there are going to be 3 KPIs that we're tracking because you need to be able to produce results. And so projects are for people that are operating, building stuff out. Tracking is more so for that visionary they just want to execute and do. Yeah. And so now we're trying to marry both of those together so that way you can get in the habit of being able to do those things simultaneously. And so you may be tracking how to develop your marketing funnel or improve the quality of the delivery of your product or your service in the project, but we may be tracking revenue over here, we may be tracking lead generation right here, how many new partnerships you acquired right here, and then we're basically going through that for probably like the first 30 minutes individually for each person. And everybody actually can give insight and feedback on it. So we tailor the entire program based off of the people that are inside the cohort.
Gotcha.
Then the other side to it is we talk about market opportunities. So we aren't just talking about the tracking. We're talking about, well, what networking opportunities do you have in your network? Like, what events are happening? You should be able to go to this location. Or, hey, you should join with this organization. Or, hey, I hear that Quintel has a podcast. Maybe we should all look at this as an opportunity to be able to hop on here to be able to see exactly what the market says about our product and our feasibility, right? Or, like, hey, here are the grant opportunities that we see out in the market. You should be able to take a look at this. Or, hey, again, market, maybe we want to partner and do an expansion in Virginia. Right? And so that's the other part to it. Then the next part is we talk about the issues. Those are like the bottlenecks that are holding you back from hitting your goals. So 9 times out of 10, all our founders have to put that inside of our software before they come in. So that way we can discuss it in a safe space, right? Because everybody in there has to sign an NDA because we want all this to stay right here. Okay. So if you are having issues of like, dog, I don't have no runway for the next.
So these are just issues in their business, not necessarily issues attached to the tracking or the process.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it can be twofold. So it could be just general issues, but also when we're going through the projects and the tracking of the KPIs, if we see like, hey, you've been off goal for the past 2 weeks, let's flag this as an issue so we can talk about it as a whole unit, right? And so then we go and discuss all those different things. There's more to it, but then we'll also have a to-do list afterwards. So at the end of that kind of like structured meeting, we'll basically say, okay, there was a networking opportunity. Justin, I need you to introduce Quintel to that networking opportunity. So that when we come back next week, I can be like, did you introduce him? Because all of this is action-oriented. Yeah. And then the last part is like an educational component, which I call the forge, where we define what you're doing through our A7 model. So that's kind of like the scope of how the cohort works. But my favorite part, most cohorts and programs just let you graduate based off of showing up. We're not doing that. You're not going to be able to do that just because you showed up. Yeah. You have to be able to hit 80% of your goals in the program in order to graduate. Because we're not here to make you feel good. We're here to forge you into a new founder that can scale the business. Because nobody's going to applaud your business just because it made you feel good. Yeah. If you run out of capital, if you run out of resources, if you run out of all the help that you need to be able to build your business, congratulations ain't going to do nothing. Right. So we're really trying to focus on the production and the scale, the systems inside of the business for these founders. So that's just some of the stuff. And then we're going to have an alumni program that's going to be even like doper. But
that's dope. One business feeds into another one. Exactly. So I have a question. This is important. Or it may be more interesting than important. What you just described was a lot of accountability. How do you justify getting other adults to invest in accountability for themselves? Because they don't see themselves as children. They don't think that they're not doing. They see problems arise in their business, but they don't know that it is because of something that they did or didn't do. And I understand the benefit and the need for accountability. How do you help them understand that they need it, whether they're investing with you or with somebody else?
So when I look at like my ideal avatar, and this is actually a beautiful question. Because, like you said, most founders don't feel like they need that. Well, they feel like they need the accountability. I kind of mask it in community.
Got you.
Right.
Got you.
And so this is where it becomes very important to understanding the art of communication. So when people apply, usually the way that I frame it is, look, you keep hitting a certain barrier and you don't know why you're not getting to the next level. Join the mastermind so you can be in a community of individuals that can help you talk through those experiences that they went through that can potentially help you or to be able to hold you accountable for that process. The other thing is when you actually go through so number one, the real thing is that I don't want anybody in this program that isn't willing to be open, vulnerable, and accountable.
Yeah.
That's why it's an application process. If I get 100 apps, and yes, we get revenue from it, if you aren't a good fit, the product is only as good as the people that are inside of it.
Yeah.
And then this kind of jumps back to like my space in the luxury space of custom suits. Not everybody can get it. Right. And so because of this scarcity mentality of like up to 10 people, if you get in, now down the line, we'll probably actually have to have virtual interviews with people. It'll help us determine the quality of our product. So I don't care if you make $3 million. If you stuck up, I don't want you here. Right? I don't need your money. We don't need you in this space. And so once we're able to define that community, then not this week, but by the time this comes out, it'll probably already officially started. We're actually having a dinner to launch the first session for the cohort.
So classy.
Yeah, because I mean, my motto in life is make everything an experience.
Yeah.
Anybody be like, just, hey, welcome guys. I'm like, no, we're going fine dining. We're going to network. We're going to talk. We're going to have like these, okay, this is going to come out later. We're going to have cards where it's going to have questions that are obviously like vulnerable questions.
Yeah.
It's like, what was the lowest point in your business? Right? Or like, what was your biggest success and how did you overcome like your past failures? Or what do you feel like if you can change this one thing in your business, what would it be? Right? So that way the actual community can feel comfortable with expressing themselves over good food and actually there are drinks there. So people are going to end up getting really comfortable very quickly. And then of course at the top of that session, we're going to paint a vision of what the cohort is and really dive in, just like any other business owner should know. You dive in on the pain so much that it makes them open to wanting the medicine that's going to solve it. And so talking about like all the different things I saw in their applications on like what they feel is holding them back and being able to go so deep into that as we build this stuff out, that they know, okay, whatever I'm about to get here, I actually need it. And then be able to communicate with them in a way that they can receive it. So 9 times out of 10, I usually am not the person that's like, no, you're absolutely wrong. I ask you questions so you can pull out the answer of like, actually, maybe I'm not right.
Right. So you make it clear to them. Yeah, you make it clear. You clarify it for them, and they kind of suggest it themselves, like, oh yeah, okay, now I need this.
Exactly, because people are hard-headed. So sometimes, even though you're not going to get the affirmation that you basically gave them the answer, you walked into the answer.
Yeah.
They feel empowered because they feel like they came up with the answer.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, they gave it to themselves because, like they say, people need to be reminded more than they need to be taught.
Exactly.
And they'll feel so much better if they reminded themselves, like, oh, that's right.
That's it. And that's why I focus on, with the forging part of the program, that's probably like 33% of it. Most people get into programs and want it to be 90%. You already know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you what to do. We're just going to hold you accountable and help you leverage partnerships and collaborations and building systems to be able to help you get to the next level, because you already know. You just need to take the action towards it.
So you have anybody that lives in the online space, we see a lot of, like a cohort is technically could be like a digital product, right? So we see a lot of cohorts, we see coaching programs and things like that, and it's hard for people to determine whether it's good or not. And you decided to do your own, so you clearly fill a gap somewhere. You found a reason why you should have one. Is there anything that you've seen, and you don't have to name names, but like, is there anything that you've seen that you feel like was like not good advice, or just really poor guidance out on the internet around coaching and investing in cohorts and things like that?
That's a really good question. I want to say that I don't think there's an audience for everybody, right? Because at the end of the day, the secret is everybody's teaching the exact same thing. It's about being able to, who do you relate to enough that you will be willing to listen to, right? So the gap that I do recognize, and this is why I've kept it as an intimate experience, is that when I've gone through 5-day challenges or 90-day challenges and they have 100 people in there, they can have the call to action to be, do this, do this, do this, do this. And then next week you come back, and because you're like 1 out of 100, they're not going to go through everybody. And so it's like the people that did do the homework or the call to action, those 5 people will raise their hand and talk about it. And then they'll just move on. And then you can just hide in the back and be like, all right, I didn't do it, but I got some good info.
Yep.
But here, the gap is that every single week, you are being put up there on the stand to talk about what you did, what you discovered, how you can make adjustments and changes, and how to learn how to think more strategically. Because now we're teaching you how to communicate and how you can solve problems. Because now, once you graduate from this cohort, you have a framework on how to run your business. Because that's the real secret. If you do this exact same structure that I'm doing for the cohort inside of your business for your team, it's the exact same thing. Do it for your marketing team. Do it for your sales team. Do it for your IT team. Like all those different things. If you duplicate this thing and be able to put people up on the stand for a moment to talk about their progress, what they're struggling with, and then collaborate, it's a done deal. And so what makes us different is the fact that every single week, I get to hear what's going on with you. And your cohort members can also hear it too, because that's going to inspire change, whether it's in your business or in theirs, because the same issue that they're experiencing is the same one that they may experience in the future or they already went through. So that's really what makes us different. We're not just having 1 million people in this cohort. It's staying at this intimate level so that way you can ensure that you're getting the results you desire.
Yeah, now I can appreciate that. I've been in a few, and they weren't as big as 100 people, right? But even if it's 20, and if it's not like super tight knit, some people can kind of like drop off. And it's cool, like you said, you still get paid, but you want people to really walk away. You want them to get the transformation. You want them to be able to get the transformation. So I appreciate that. I'm happy that you did it that way. Shout out to everybody that's in it. Most of the people from the area, like the Baltimore area?
Yes. Well, I'll say some are from Baltimore, some are in Baltimore County.
Yeah.
Someone's from Richmond, and yeah, I think that's the bulk of it. So I'll say Greater Baltimore and Richmond.
So outside of the people in your cohort, is there anybody in Baltimore you think like is on the rise in the business space? Like I never really asked this. I just thought about it. But when you outside, you kind of see what's happening. And I mean outside like in a professional sense or in the business space, because we move different. The people that are just like doing business and making things happen, or like you and I went to the same high school, and not even being biased, we gonna keep coming across a bunch of people that went to our high school because they like outside, like doing stuff. Mm-hmm. Is there anybody you know that you want to just like we should give a little nod to?
This is real bias, but I think it depends on the industry that you're in, okay. Right? So we're like in the professional service space, so we're gonna see some of these people in the professional service space. I also see, and again, this is probably biased, but it's reality for me. Like my wife, okay. This is biased. She's real. It's real biased. But if you ask anybody in the maternal health and wellness space, okay. If they say new momish, they're gonna know exactly what you're talking about. Because she's been in business for about 2-3 years now. She's partnered with Xfinity, a lot of the major healthcare providers. She's disrupting the space where, people have like maternal support and like it's a whole movement. She just secured a contract to serve 1,000 moms in Prince George's County.
Man, that's what's up, man.
She also did it a year ago here in Baltimore with United Health. I believe that's one of these hospitals. Mm-hmm. That's how many hospitals she's working with now. And so like if you are in the wellness space, that's who you're thinking about. When you think about the, what is that space called? For youth development, as far as like graphic design or education and entrepreneurship, I think about Dion Bowen, mm-hmm. where he's building these summits for the youth. And so they're using their skill sets to be able to build these incredible, tremendous businesses. And he's doing it not just here in Baltimore, but he's getting contracts all across the state in all these different counties. Mm-hmm. And so they're funding him to do these huge summits. He did one in Morgan, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. There are a lot of different people that I could just kind of give a shout out to. I mean, you've already interviewed him, Sharif. If you don't know Sharif, right. That's what I said. When you outside, you know what's happening in the business space. Sharif is right there. Yeah. Like, and if you don't know him, the person right next to you knows him, mm-hmm. right? And because he has a heart of gold and he wants to serve the people, whether it's in real estate, small business ownership, in their faith, all those different things. And then there are those silent killers out there, which is, again, basically, I'm kind of naming the people that I know, but it's because I know they're doing it at scale. Like my good friend Caleb, he's in the real estate space. He was able to, over the course, I believe, like 3-4 years, acquire like 200 beds of real estate in the DMV area for like universities. And so, most people, when they think about real estate, they're like, hey, let me just buy this property. It's single family. We're going to put a single family in there. He saw the gap, just like some of the models in other states, where like, hey, if I acquire this property, there are 8 rooms in here. Why am I going to put one single family in here when there are universities like Johns Hopkins right next door?
Yeah.
We're going to charge $600 for each of those, which ends up being, was that $32,000? I mean, $3,200,
yeah.
right? Versus charging maybe like $2,000 a month. And so he ran the play of being able to do that. And now he's jumping in the commercial space. And now he's in Miami and he's in Vegas and all these different things. And I call them silent killers because most people in real estate, you only know the name of the company.
Yeah.
You don't know the person that really owns it.
Yeah.
And mind you, he was doing this in his early 20s, transitioning to his 30s. You know, he's, yeah.
On this thing. That's what's up. Now, thank you for sharing that because we need to know. That's why we had this. That's why I put this podcast together. People tell me, and I know this podcast can be bigger than, and it will be bigger than just what's going on in Baltimore. But it's really important that we talk about what's going on here because it's a lot going on here. So tell me what you think about doing business in Baltimore. What's the pros and cons, do you think?
The pros and cons is that Baltimore has so many resources. Mm-hmm. You have so many resources. So if you need a program, it's something here for you. Like there's literally something here, whether it's through Johns Hopkins, or whether it's through like Hutch, whether it's through Department of Commerce, Towson Startup, if it's through Techstars, if it's through like, there's so many different, I mean, the Greater Baltimore Urban League, honestly, there are too many programs. Innovation Works, like Goldman Sachs, I can literally go on for like another 10 minutes probably naming all of them off, right? So if you need to understand the full scope of what business is, you can literally find it all here in Baltimore. And this sounds counterintuitive for me being like a consulting advisor coach. You can get a lot of these resources for free, like a lot. So like with my role, I have to be the individual that points them to all these different resources. So just like I was talking to the gentleman outside earlier, if you tell me what your problem is, I can point you to a resource. Yeah. So like if it's like, hey, I need to figure out how to be able to staff, but I don't have that much money. You can talk to the Department of Commerce and how they actually have tax credits that let you hire veterans, so that way it's a tax deductible and you're getting some money back, right? Or they can help you with finding space, so that way you can get certain credits back for when you find those specific locations. If you need a general like business advisor and you are in complete startup mode and you have no idea what to do, sign up for SCORE. SCORE has people that are 40, 60-year-old men that have retired and they've been executives for Lord knows how long.
Let me tell you something about SCORE, right? When I first, the first business I tried to start, this is a lot. So my first business was doing parties. Or, you know, I'm a little bit older. Yeah. So my first business was doing parties. Me and my homies hit it off. We did our thing for 6 years. Then the next thing I did was I tried to open a men's retail shop. So I wasn't a tailor like you. I was into like curating the fly stuff. So I was early on Hypebeast. I just stopped going on Hypebeast every day last year. Since 2007. It's ridiculous. So I was trying to get like, you know, Japanese denim and like New Balance accounts and nudie jeans and stuff like, and I actually had the accounts lined up, but I wrote a poor business plan. So I didn't, it was me and my main man, Icy. So we was doing the business plan together, and like Icy had managerial experience at Nordstrom, so we kind of had the play figured out. He was super personable. He could sell. I do back end. I call the people. I get on everybody's nerves. I'm hunting down accounts. I was going to trade shows, whatever. So this isn't about me. But I went to SCORE because I didn't know what to do from the very beginning. So they helped me with the business plan, and the biggest lesson that I learned, I was talking to an older man, like you said, right? It's a bunch of older people there. They had businesses, so it was an older Jewish man. Shout out to him. I forgot his name. I was like, I had decent credit for a young man in my early 20s. And I said, well, should I get a house or should I start a business? Because people just tell you, like, I got a job with the government. I flamed out on my first business, you know, that went how it went. But I still got this hustle in me, like, what should I do? Because I can't leverage for both because I don't have any cash. Mm-hmm. And he was like, start a business, succeed, you can buy any house you want. I was like, thank you. I was like, thank you. And that came from a free resource in Baltimore, but that's a business lesson. And that was back in 2013, 14. And I still remember that it's so clear. Like, he was a little bit shorter than me. You know, I ain't that tall. He was a little bit shorter than me, brown suit, navy sweater, like, and he was like, build that business. So that's a part of why, like, that's what gave me the energy for Built Different and to be able to talk to somebody like you about these types of things, because the energy is here in the city. So you gave some of the good stuff. What are some of the cons, though?
Yeah, so the con is that depending on your industry, capital may be a little bit harder for you to get, right? Or you may not know where to get access to capital. So, for instance, right now, and this is why it's actually very important to understand government and politics, because with the current initiatives that are set with the mayor's office, shout out to my guy, Mayor Brandon Scott, it's a lot about helping youth and recreations and the arts, right? So if you're in those spaces, there's plenty of money right there for you, right? But if you may be in another space, you may be depleted right now because it's like a lot of the funds are being allocated towards another sector because that's what's happening in your current economic space. Something else that I'll also say, again, it does really depend on your industry. So Baltimore is very heavy on redevelopment. Like we're in just rebuild for organizations, and this is a very generalized statement. This isn't saying that this is the reality, but some people may look at it and say, hey, because everybody's being reestablished, we need something that's already done and ready or like scaling. So let me clarify what I mean by that. Let's say if I'm only servicing multi-million-dollar companies that are, let's say, in the bio's big here, aerospace is big here, quantum, AI. All right, let's go. Farming, there we go. Farming. It's not a huge industry here, right? And so being able to work with people within this space is going to be far to none. So really, it depends on the space that you're in for me to be able to define what your cons may be.
Gotcha.
Right? And so there's always a pro and a con. I'm also a very optimistic person. So I'm like, regardless of what's available, I'm going to get it. If it's here, if it's down the street, if I got a whole resource from another city or another state and then just bring it back down here, I'm going to do it. But the general thing will always be, and it's probably not even just in Baltimore, this is actually national right now, is the minority, why can't I remember the word? The minority designation. That's what I'm gonna call it, right? Because of everything that's happening in the office, a lot of the resources as far as funding or contracts aren't gonna be able to get delegated to us accordingly because we can't leverage that specific designation as being a minority-owned business. So that is one thing, but that's not just Baltimore. That's kind of like nationally right now. So that would be kind of like the main kind of like cons that I would kind of put towards it.
That's it. Okay. You thought well through that one, man. But we need to know the truth. You know, it's a lot of good things, but we don't want to. We biased. We from here. We don't want to overhype it, right? We got to talk about what's not. May not be that great.
Yeah, I will say like one thing that Baltimore is just really known for is social enterprises. So if you're building anything that's relating to community, resources, support, this is the gold mine to do it in.
Yeah, I see it a lot, and it's not my niche as far as like business or whatever, but I really appreciate it. Yeah. Like Innovation Works and like all the other things that they do. Like I really do appreciate it because people need the space to learn, to grow in business, and people need to be served. I approach it from more like a capitalistic point of view. Like if you can gather resources, then you can share it. This is conscious capitalism, right? So I'd rather spend my time trying to acquire resources that can help people. Because sometimes, like Jay-Z said, I can't help the poor from one of them, so I get rich and give back. To me, that's the win-win.
Exactly.
I'm better. I would be better that way. But I'm glad you brought it up because I see it all the time, and I didn't know how to define it, but that's what it is. A lot of social organizations and stuff.
I do have a con, but it's because there's so much good. And this is actually where we fill the gap for it, right?
Okay.
Because there's so many resources, you don't know where to start.
Yeah, it could be very confusing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you have to have a strategy behind who you're working with, which means that you have to have a synopsis on all your different gaps. And again, not just the surface. What's number one, where are you in your stage of business? Number two, what is your skill set? Number three, what is going on in your industry right now? And then number four is now assessing what's going on in your business and figuring out which fires are worth putting out right now.
Gotcha.
And so if you just talk to somebody and they're like, yeah, I need help with funding. And I'm like, oh yeah, go over to, Greater Baltimore Committee and Upsurge. They have a network of people. They may potentially have some funders that may be angel investors, VCs, all that great stuff. If we actually pull back the curtain of your business, you are not ready for any of that.
Yeah.
And I just set you up because I don't know what's happening. And so I sent you down the road of demise. That's a great resource, but that's not good for you right now.
Yeah.
Instead, you maybe need to go to Score Set, or maybe you need to go through a program that can help you create financial modeling, or be able to go through design thinking and being able to develop your actual product tailored towards your actual target audience. So that way you can get the funding. Or maybe we need to work on like getting you a sales coach so you know how to do customer acquisition, right? And so that's the con. Because we have so much that's available, number one is paralysis analysis, and then two, you may be going to the wrong resource at the wrong time.
But now we got you. So I can greatly appreciate that, man. That's what's up. That's what's up. Speaking of that, right? Being confused or there being too many resources, analysis paralysis. You do consulting and advisory within your cohort and otherwise in other spaces. When you see somebody that's wearing all of the hats and they don't know where to start or what hat to put on and when, like how do you help them walk through? How do you walk them through that? I know it starts at a personal level. You gotta find out what's going on in their business, but do you have like a framework that you use to do that, or do you just have like a ton of resources? Like do you have your own playbook and you kind of just walk them through that?
So if somebody's an actual client of mine, I actually do it. So one of my background also outside of custom suits, I was in financial planning.
Okay.
And in financial planning, most people think that they have their finance together, or they think that if they just make a lot of money, they know everything. But what we did was when we sat down with these individuals, we would go through each core sector of their finances. Like, okay, what's your investment strategy? Okay, what's your estate planning strategy? What's your risk management? What's your cash flow? Like looking at all these different things, because most people go to a specific individual and only look at the lens of like that one sector. They're not looking at how does the decision made here affect everything else.
Yeah.
And so when I'm sitting down with somebody, I'm looking at the core model of what's going on. Number one, what is your goal, right? Because you need to have some type of strategic plan. So I usually like to work with founders that are making at least $250,000, $300,000 up to $1 million, because that means you have some success, you have some systems in place.
Same.
But in order for you to be able to grow now, we need to actually have a strategy versus like just doing what you want. When I was in the Goldman Sachs program, one of the favorite quotes that one of my cohort members gave me, he said, "Passion is not a strategy."
Right. 100%.
Because passion don't do nothing. It just gets you going.
Yeah.
Right? Well, it gets you to where you're at. But to a certain extent, we need to start transforming your mind from just being a person that executes, but into a true executive. And so when I sit down with a founder, the first question I ask her is, what are your goals? What are your goals? Like, what do you want to hit? What is the vision for your company? What's your mission statement? And then, okay, great. From there, what are your goals set to be able to accomplish that mission and that vision? Perfect. If it's X, Y, and Z, now let's peel back the curtains. Now that I know these are the main things that you have in place, let's ask you some questions about what does it look like for marketing right now for you? What does it look like for sales? What does it look like for your finances? What does it look like for your team? What partnerships have you established? What is your compliance and governance? Like, how do you operate in general, and how is it with like the state and everything like that? Once I gather all information, I know exactly how all these things work together, and then I can go based off of what is urgent, right? So like if you're telling me, let's say, you are having, you need more sales, right? And I look at it, I'm like, oh, you're at full capacity right now. Like you can't take on any more clients.
Yeah.
And so, but I looked at your finances, there is no margin for your profit. That's your real issue.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do about that? We got to figure out what are we going to do to be able to either have some type of upsell, so that way it builds continuity in your business, but also opens up your profit margin, or how are we going to filter out your good clients, your bad clients, and your great clients? How are we going to filter those out so that way we can focus more on our great clients versus our bad and good clients that we just get by with?
Yeah.
Because your great clients usually don't give you no issues, no hassles. They don't require as much time, but 80% of your time is with the bad clients and then like the good clients who are consuming all of your time. And so it's really understanding like the full scope of where your business is, because just like in financial planning, when you go for your series license, I can't give you advice until I know what's going on in the entire thing. Because if I tell you like, oh, you need more clients, and I'm just a sales coach, I'm gonna teach you how to get more clients. But I didn't know that the issue was that you needed a better margin.
Yeah, you ain't making no money.
Yeah. So great, you make more money, but you're more stressed, and you ain't got no money now.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like the framework that we go through, and then we have like a 3 to 6 month engagement with our clients where we build out all those different things, so we can help them knock out like the first 2 fires first. We help them build out the strategic plan. We help them and meet up with them on a weekly, bi-weekly basis to ensure that we're coaching them in a way that they can implement this stuff in their business, also with their teams. And then we go on a retainer after that to help them kind of maintain and transition.
I'm glad you spoke about the retainer, not just because like how money is, but the different phase of business, right? Because that's a continuity program to a certain degree. So thinking about like the future of your business, you talked about the retainer, you talked about the alumni program? Are there any other things that you see coming down? I mean, you don't got to move too fast, right? You still got to get through your first cohort, but you in Baltimore, you got hella resources, man. So, how do you see things shaping up for you over the next few years or so?
Do I want to spill all the business?
No.
I'm gonna do it. Because the real vision is, I'll tell you my goals for this year. I have 4.
Okay.
So the first one is I want to have 1,200 registrations for all of our events for this entire calendar year going into 2026.
Okay.
I want to graduate 40 cohort members. I want to be able to acquire 10 consulting clients. And then I want to be able to have $1 million invested in small businesses, right? And so that goes towards my 3-year strategic plan. So that's what it looks like in year 1. The goal with one of them, with the funds invested, I'm pointing everybody to the different resources that are available now. So I'm now branded and known as the person that can point you towards the access to capital.
Yeah.
I've always had the desire to be able to invest in businesses. And so 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the line, if we are known as that organization that points you to the funding, if we become our own funding organization, then there's a huge opportunity there for us to fill the gap for them. And now we're able to build up a fund, whether it's an angel investing, venture capital, private equity for acquisitions, all those different things. Then on the other side, of course, you have the community aspect, where we want to build a community and a network, whether it's digital or in person, for founders to be able to connect with one another and use each other to iron sharpen iron for founder development. And then, okay, I can't technically say that one publicly, so I won't right now. But the last one was, I do probably, it's funny because like I host so many events, like just from work alone, I've hosted 50 plus events this year for like startups and entrepreneurs and everything. But I think I do, even though I hate like events at that scale, I probably will have some type of like summit or conference.
Okay.
For everybody to connect with one another. Because what I really envision, like, if I look at my family, because that's really how I look at everything, my family, everything else, the vision God called me to is He wants me to shift global economies. I have to build a framework that works here locally, and then regionally, then nationally, then internationally. And so that's how I'm looking at my framework. My side of our family's mission and vision is the marketplace and helping them be able to build like wealth and finance and be able to have like impact in their community to improve the quality of life of their community, economic development. My wife is building a family unit, home. And so when I envision like what we're doing together, we're really trying to redevelop an entire like community into a space where we all thrive with what we're doing. We're prioritizing family, we're building and making the impact that we need in our community, and we're not compromising on the quality of life because of that. So that's really what our vision is. But the last thing I will share, and that was the other thing, I don't want to call that was filler information, but that is just a fun fact. But with every dollar that's made, 10% of all revenue is going into a foundation that I'm going to be building out.
Okay.
So all the money that's coming in from this organization, we're literally pointing right back out into the community because you need that non-dilutive funding. Non-dilutive funding is when you have money with no strings attached. And so if I can be able to provide $10,000 grants or pitches to small business owners that have an idea or a vision, they just need to get by, or, hey, I'm going through a tough time, like I need help and support, we can give them that money to get them to the next space. Because I know if I didn't have grants and all the different things, I would not be here right now. And so there are a lot of different moving pieces to this, but at the end of the day, we want to be that one-stop shop for you to be able to build your life, build your business, build the founder that you are, and that way that you're creating it and not letting life run you.
So I got to put this out there because you mentioned grants a couple times. So I had grants for a good part and company and things like that. How do you inform people in a way to not be over-reliant and always seeking those types of sources of external funding? Because I'm not, like, I've used it, so I understand the benefit of it, but I also believe, like, I'm not saying you got to hustle and scrounge up and get it out the mud every single time, but there's a different level of value you have on dollars that you create and earn versus somebody just giving you money. Because I keep talking to a bunch of business owners and people who are just either just getting started or kind of in their first 1 to 3 years, and so they're looking for a grant or some kind of external funding to bail them out. And I'm like, you got to fix part of your business. Like, I know because I messed up in my business. So you got to fix the way your business works. So how do you talk to them about without like poo-pooing on a parade, but like you gotta chill on the everybody don't need it because if we talked about having the right direction, if you don't even know what you're gonna spend the money on, you're gonna mess the money up. You're gonna mess the money up. Yeah. So, what do you tell people? Because you just sent me an email about some funding, right? So I open the email, I look at it like I ain't even gonna apply right now. You know what I'm saying? Somebody else can probably use that better. I know what I can use the money for now. Just like 2 weeks ago, I brought out a little plan. That leads me to my next part. But how do you help keep people managing their expectations around pursuing external funding?
Yeah. So this kind of goes back to it depends on who I'm talking to. So number one, if your business, like let's say you're in the tech space, you do need that funding, right? Because you're building out a product that has not been developed before. It may cost you $25,000 to be able to build out that prototype. But before you technically do that, still, you need to be able to go out there and engage the market if it's something that's really needed. On the other side, you said don't poop on them, but
I mean, we might have just a little bit.
If you keep applying for grants, just become a nonprofit. Yes, so I'm gonna just leave it right there.
Okay.
Your revenue grants on your accounting side, yes, it is counted as revenue, but that's not the reason you're in business.
Yes.
Right? Because if you end up raising $100,000 in grants and you have no customers, just take it from right there, right? It's supposed to be an accessory to what you're doing. But probably what happens in our community is we usually start businesses out of desperation and not from a place of let me think about this and have a true plan. Because most individuals or most cultures, when they think about building a business, they're thinking 6, 12, 2 years in advance, right? And then they also know how to be lean when they start their business because you don't know what's going to work. Because what if you get $100,000 and you wasted $100,000 because you didn't know who your customer avatar was, you don't know what your customer acquisition cost is, you don't know if your product is even a right fit for them, or you don't know how much it's actually going to cost for you to deliver that, right? And so honestly, I will never call it a blessing to not have money.
Right.
But I will say what you lack in capital right now is being used to build up your skill set first. Yeah. Because if you don't have the skill set, you're going to mismanage some money anyway. And so the way that I've looked at it, there was a time when I did apply for, and I toot my own horn, I feel like I managed my grant money very well because I didn't use it as a way of this is how I'm going to make my money. Yeah. I used it in a space of hey, this is going to help me accelerate what I'm doing. We are already generating revenue, but in order to be able to accelerate it, we need some more coal in the fire, right? And so if I had to give I don't want to give that. I don't want to give advice on the percent of your revenue. Apply for the grants, but don't look at it as a space where this is where all my money is coming from. Because then you're going to have a gap of I got all this money. You're going to spend it on certain things. You may get into a contract, and once your money's gone, you're still obligated to support that, and now you're having cash flow issues. Yeah,
that's what I'm about to say. But I would say just prioritize cash flow over your grants, because they're on the timeline, so it might take months before you actually get it. I hit for a big grant, right? It was $25,000. That's a significant amount of money, especially in food and beverage, for any business really. But food and beverages, you paying for overhead often because I got to re-up on a lot of stuff, cups. Right. Mangoes, kale, new shirts because the old ones got all dirty, right? But we had cash flow, and so I was able to manage it, and I didn't have any coaching through that, so it was I was just blessed enough to have an idea to make folders in Google Sheets, in Google Drive, and that saved me. But I'm talking to some people, and they don't even like writing stuff down, so they don't have anything organized. Now, I want everybody to get the grant, but also the people, they're not going to give you any more grants if you mismanage it and things like that. So I just wanted it to come from somebody who understands funding a lot better.
Yeah, and then the best part about this is, and this is actually something that I took from my financial planning space, is you have to have an investment decision filter. So you have to be able to calculate the ROI for every single dollar you spend in your business. So for instance, in my business right now, I could invest in a lot of equipment and make my videos look amazing and impactful and all those different things, the crazy transitions and all that stuff. But what's the ROI on that? Right. If I spend $1,000 on that, what is that going to look like for me in 90 days? It may improve just my lead generation a little bit, but if I took that same $1,000 and just use it for ad spend, I'm guaranteed to get a lot more reach. And then I just got to focus on my skill set of improving the quality that I'm putting out myself. And I know for a fact that, yes, I could improve all the presentation of my stuff and get like the perfect camera and the best lavalier mic and the nicest like studio and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You need that. You need that for what you do.
Yeah.
So, but for like my business, it's like that's gonna look good for branding. But right now, I don't need branding. I need cash flow.
Yeah.
And cash flow comes from customers. So why would I, if you're in the stock market, would you want to put your money in something that is going to give you a 5x return or a 20x return?
Yeah.
And so, yes, there are a lot of good things that you can invest in, but you have to look at, well, where can I get the best return right now?
Yeah.
Is this a short-term play or is this a long-term play? What are we trying to go for?
Thank you for breaking that down. You blasted me. You just reminded me, like, yo, don't focus on all of that type of stuff. Like, because my background is in graphic design, so I'm always looking at the design, the aesthetic of things or whatever. But that stuff don't really change. You still need customers.
Yeah.
I'm better off designing a system to get people to come through, to get them on the email list or something like that. So I'm glad you shared that. You just reminded me not to fall back into that trap or anything. But just a few months ago, I was focused on like my LinkedIn banner or something like that. And I was like, man, what am I doing?
And it goes to not just your money, but also your time.
Yeah, it's not a good use of my time, and it's not impacting the bottom line. You got to add customers. So thanks for sharing that. I want you to share how people can get in touch with you. Whether the first cohort is booked. So sorry, guys, y'all ain't getting in this one. But you got 90 days. So get your act together. The next 90 days, you might qualify, but you also do consulting, and you put it out there. Thanks for sharing that too. Before you answer that, do you have a business coach or some kind of coach?
So yes, I'm excited. Yes, I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
I have several technically, and it's just because of the unique position that I'm in right now currently. The coaches that I have paid for in the past and also currently, I've hired a sales coach. I've also had a business coach as well too, like general business, and then I just got my leadership coach.
Okay.
Because I understand the frameworks of business, I need to be able to build teams faster now. Because most founders, we get scared because we're like, we actually need a team sooner than we're ready for it.
Yeah, exactly.
We try to do everything ourselves, and because I love processes and systems, I always thought that I could just build a system and then just leave it. But a lot of times, even though we have AI that can complement it, there's some human capital that just can always make it better, right? And so for me, I'm like, I'm gonna start early. I got a leadership coach. Then IMJS is technically launching, I guess, like January 1st, even though it's kind of actually been happening really this last quarter of the year. But I've already had 2 volunteers that want to support me. And like the goal is like be able to look at their skill set, build them up, and if it seems like a good fit, I can now compensate them by the end of Q1.
That's
right. So that's the coach that I have right now. The biggest thing about that coach, it's Alter Call. Why do I forget the gentleman's name? Anyway, you can look up altercall.ai. And the reason I chose him as my coach is because what we were talking about before we got here. I want a coach that's talking about generating $1 million, $10 million, $100 million. I'm not in the business of 6 figures. I'm in the business of millions, right? If I'm called to shift global economies, I'm not doing that at $100,000 or at $500,000. No, we're doing that at $100 million valuation or $1 billion valuation. What better way to learn that by working with a coach that has done millions, if not billions of dollars in revenue?
Gotcha.
And so I've had the coaches that made 6 figures. I've had the coaches that made $1 million. I've had all those different things. There is a obvious difference in how they deliver their content, which is important. Coaches between that 0 to $1 million, they focus very heavy on mindset, which is crucial because you gotta have the conviction that you can do it to just go out there and mess it up. People that are $1 million, 10 million, 100 million, they're talking about systems and processes. So that way it is a little bit higher level. I think MBA candidates, I think like collegiate level, when you first start off in business, think you're high school, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Once you graduate from that, you're gonna have to learn all the jargon, the ARRs, the MRRs, the CACs, the LTVs, all that stuff. So that's what I want to make sure I'm putting in my line of focus for my coaches to answer that question. And then what was the other question?
No, that was it. We just wanted you to share about how they can get in contact with you for consulting or for the next cohort. This is what I was commending you on, laying out that you want to get 10 consulting clients. So if we need to plug consulting right now, you should probably just go ahead and say how they can.
Oh yeah. So if you feel like you're a founder that is experiencing bottleneck, you don't know how to develop and scale systems, you currently have clients, but you feel like every single time that you're going out to the marketplace, you don't feel confident in the delivery of what you're talking about, I would love to work with you. If you want to get a full understanding of your business, how to develop those teams, how to create those systems, how to be able to track and measure it so that way we can actually scale you in a predictable format, talk to me. Because we're going to walk through that entire banter. We're going to build out the softwares, the systems, so that way you can buy back your time. You can have a better return of your investment, because I don't want you working 24 hours a day like you used to. I want you to be able to have that set time frame of 9 to 5, because that's where you're going and that's what your team is going to be doing. So I want to start to help you put that expectation in place so that way you can scale and grow within the time frames that make sense for you, so you can enjoy the quality of your life. So you can contact us at IMJS.io, and then if you want to shoot us an email, do contact at IamJustinShaw.com. And then you can follow us on Instagram at IMJS.io.
My man. Justin, appreciate you, yo.
My guy.